Hi friends, in this video I show you how to combine Spring MVC Security and REST JWT Security. First of all, let me remind you that we have both tutorials on the channel for JWT and for Spring MVC. And in this video I won't stop on details for those securities. I will just show you how to combine both security for Spring MVC and for REST. For example, if you have REST endpoints in your application, and for example, if you have MVC security and MVC endpoints for your application. And let me quickly remind you what have we achieved in the previous tutorials. This is our application, and if you remember, we had a home page and books page. And once we navigate to the book page or any other secure page, we are redirected to the login, where we need to provide our credentials for the user. If we don't have credentials, we can proceed with registration, for example. And then after that, after we successfully registered, we can enter our credentials, and then we will be redirected. If credentials are correct, of course, we will be redirected to this secured page, like our books page. And we also have in our application roles for admin and user. If, for example, I enter admin and password for admin, we will see that we are in the admin role, because we have these delete buttons for admin, and for the user, for example, we don't have this functionality, as you can see. That's just a quick reminder what have we achieved in the previous tutorials. So now let's get back to the code and let's try to create some REST controller. For example, for our books, let's say we want to provide some REST functionality for our book functionality, okay? And let's create our first REST controller, and let's call it book REST controller. And let's provide REST controller annotation, just simple REST controller, nothing special. Request per mapping, and we will provide API. And we will provide, for example, for our book controller, as you remember, we have just books. For our book REST controller, we will have API books, just to have unique URL. And let's just provide a simple get mapping, for example, for get books. We will call, as usual, we will do the same as in this get book page. Just call our book service and return our book service, get all books by login, and we need to provide some login. Let's just, for example, provide ABC. I just want to show you this API, that it's secured and we can just get our books. Let's restart our application and check our API. To get API books, I can use a browser and I can use Postman, but all those instruments will redirect me to the login. And if, for example, you are using if, for example, you are using Postman, you will see this login page, and there is no way to get you these books without passing security, okay? And for your REST API, you need to provide JWT token authentication, because user can't just enter login and password and then get his books, okay? And how can we achieve this? We need to add the same configurations that we added for our for our JWT security and then combine it with Spring MVC. First of all, we need to create JWT. For this, we need some dependencies for JWT just to generate some token. I will use JSON Web Token. The latest version is 0.12.3. And then we need to navigate to the config. Let's create a separate package for this and call it JWT. And first of all, we need some class to generate token and to get some credentials from the token. I will call it JWT Provider. It will be just like component from the Spring, and it will have only two methods: generate token and get login from token. So I create two methods. And public string get login from token. And let's implement it. We connect our JSON Web Token library and let's just implement. It's very easy using this library to implement this. We need to return and say JWTs, and we will call builder from this JWTs. It's class from JSON Web Token. It's very easy to use. And we will put subject as our login, and we will put expiration. Let's put some expiration date. From now to let's say we want to provide this token for 2 hours, for example, and to instant UTC. Date. This is our expiration date. You can provide any amount of expiration time you want. I will provide just 2 hours for expiration, token expiration. I won't focus on expiration in this tutorial, so I will provide expiration date. I need to sign with some key, and I need to provide a key. Let me create it. Let me create a key, private static final secret key, and I will use JWTs and create a key. And I will use this key to sign our token and to retrieve to parse our token. That's all for generate token. As you can see, it's very simple and intuitive. You just put subject. You can also put some claims. It accepts string and value. String as a key and value any object you want, and then you will get these claims from the token. For example, if you need some additional information about the user, you can put any amount of claims you want to this claims param, but I don't need this. I will put my login param. This is the only param I need to this login, to this subject. And then when I want to get token, I just need to parse my JWT, my token. I call parser. I verify with key, which I use to sign my token. And if I signed my token with this key, then I could verify my token with this key also. And let me call build, and I need to parse signed claims my token, and I want to get payload, and from payload I want to get only my subject which I specified here, and then it will be my login. That's all. I won't verify token because I showed you verification in previous tutorial for JWT. If this token is invalid, it will throw some exception and our application will fail. Okay, next we need some filter for JWT, and let's create JWT Filter. And it's just simple Spring once per request filter. So let's mark it as component and extend once per request filter. And now we need to implement our filter, and we need to retrieve our token from header and check if this token is correct. I mean, get login from the token, and then put user details to this security context holder, and then our user will be in security context. Let's create our constructor and connect our JWT Provider. And let's get token from request, create private method, we have HTTP servlet request, and then we can use request get header, and we need authorization header. Let's put it to the constant. This is our bearer. And then if let's just validate our bearer. Let's say that our bearer will be valid if, for example, has text. If it's not empty, sorry, I guess it's incorrect import. String utils. Has text checks that our string is not null and not blank. So let's say that we think that our token is correct if it's not blank, and starts with bearer. That's it. Let's put this also to constant. And if our bearer is correct, right, we want to return our bearer substring seven first letters, because if we provide our authorization, let me show you some example. In the header, we will receive something like this. Authorization header, as you can see, the one we check, and value will be bearer, and then the value of our token, which we generated. And bearer is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 is space. So if we want to receive our value of the token, we need to trim our string starting from 7 letters. 7 letters, we don't need this because we know that this word is just bearer and space. That's why we substring our token starting from to the 7, and then we return only the token value, the exact value we generated. And let's just token start, put everything to constants because we want everything to be very pretty in our code. And here's our token, right? Get token from request, and we pass request, and we say otherwise. Yes, we just return null. If token is not correct, is invalid, we return null, and we check if token is not null. We need to get login from the token, and we pass our token, and we receive a login. And then we can get our user by login from the custom user details. Let me check if we have this custom user details service, and we have this load user by username, and then we just, where's our filter? We just connect our user. I forgot to add final, private final custom user details service. Load user by username and login from the token. And this is our user details. And we can create username password authentication token. It will be our auth, and username password authentication token has some static methods to create this object. It has authenticated method, and we can pass our principal, our user details, and then we can pass other required fields like credentials. We can get user details, get password, and we can pass our authorities, user details, get authorities. And once we created this auth, let me create var, we can put this to security context holder. Get context, set authentication. And using this like 1, 2, 3, 4 lines of code, we got the user from the token. We got login from the token, then we loaded user by username from the database, because if you check this method, we created this class in the previous tutorial, so I will leave everything in description so you can check this tutorial how we created it. And we find by login. Actually, we don't use database, but you could use database for this purpose, okay? And we just return our user from the database, for example, and then we put this user, if it's, of course, if it was found, to this authentication, and our user is already in the system, in this security context. And our user will have ability to get secured resources in our application. And of course, we allow filter chain, do filter response. As you can see in the logs, when you start your application, you will see, if you have security, you will see default security filter chain will secure any request with, and you will see a bunch of filters which Spring provides to enable security for you. It will use, for example, username, password authentication filter, request cache aware filter, and a lot of other filters. And it's totally fine that you will use all these filters in your security. It's used underneath. It's available for you out of the box. But when we use JWT, we are providing our custom filter for Spring Security. Here it is. We provide our custom logic for that, and we need to say Spring that we also want to use this filter in our application. And to do this, after we created this filter, we need to navigate to security config. I just reminded that it's the main class where all this security magic happens when we allow some URLs, we block some URLs from unauthorized requests, and etc. And here we need to say Spring to include our JWT filter to this security config. How we can do this? It's very easy. Let's let's connect our filter, which we created, and we say that right before logout, we call add filter before, and we say that it will be our JWT filter, and it will be username, password, authentication filter class. And Spring will know that he needs to use another filter, JWT filter, in his when he checks every request in our application. And of course, we need to provide some feature to generate token, because as you can see now we only check token. Let's create our controller, and let's create, for example, token controller. It will be REST controller, of course. Request mapping for token. Of course, I need all arguments constructor to connect my token. I will use user service, or I can use, for example, token service. It doesn't matter for us, but in this application I will use user service to generate my token. And let me create post mapping. Let me use response entity string get token. And I need to receive username and password from user who wants to generate token. Let me create model, and let me create, for example, new package for this request, and it will be simple DTO. For example, user token request. It will have username, password, and I will receive it as request body, and then I will use user service to generate token. and of course I need request, and it will be string. Let me create this method, and I need to connect my token, JWT Provider. And what I want to use, I want to find user by login and password, check that my user exists in the database, and only after that I want to generate some token. So let's do this. Find by login. We already have this find by login method, which will find some user by login. As you can see, it returns null. Request get username. Maybe I need to use login just to be consistent. And get login. It returns null, but I can use optional to check this null. And if my user is present, I want to check password. And I want to use password encoder matches. I want to check if my provided password matches with user password. Request get password and user get password. And if everything is fine, we will return our token. Otherwise, we throw, for example, on authentication exception. Let me create it. I won't provide any constructor or something like this. Auth exception. Okay, and here is our user. And after all these checks that user is not null by login and that password is correct, and if everything is fine, we just need to call JWT Provider, generate token, user model, get username. Then JWT Provider generates us username. And in my token controller, I need to return response entity okay with token. Something like that. Of course, we need to add some global exception handler. Exactly, previous tutorial is exactly about this, that we need to catch this auth exception and then catch it in global exception handler and show proper message to the user. For example, if password incorrect or login incorrect, but I won't do this, but I provide you link to this tutorial in the description, so you can finish this tutorial to make it consistable for the user, to make it smooth for the user to use. Okay, seems fine. Let's restart our application and check how it works. As you can see, we have cycle dependencies. Let's check why. We have JWT Filter and security config, user detail service, and user service. Let me close everything. It happens sometime, especially when you implement security. As you can see, we have a password encoder in our user service. And we also have security config. And we also probably, in the user service, we refer to the security config because we have encoder in the security config. And then in JWT Filter, we use custom user details. Our config refers to JWT Filter, and our JWT Filter refers to these custom user details. And finally, our custom user details refer to user service, and that's where circular dependency happen, because our user service again refers to JWT to password encoder, and again our password encoder, our security config refers to this JWT filter. There are a lot of ways to fix this. I will show you the easiest one. As for me, we just need to put this password encoder in the separate class, and then we won't have circular dependency. Let me create configuration separate and put my password encoder to this separate configuration. And here I need this password encoder, so I can connect it through this auto-write password encoder. Password encoder. Everything should be fine. Let's restart our application and check how it works. Okay, it started. First, let's try to check if we broke something. Let's get back to our application. As you can see, we still have this security in our application. Let's register. ABC CBD. Click register. ABC CBD. Click login. As you can see, everything is perfect. We can edit, we can work with our application, and everything seems fine. But I forgot to add some additional configuration. I remembered it just now. In the security config, I forgot to allow my token controller. Because, you know, once I want to generate my token, I need to allow this token API. Let me add it. And we also need to disable CSRF because I didn't provide it for the REST API. So let me disable it. And let's restart once again. We need to allow this token request to unauthorized, because user, when he will make this token request, he won't be authorized. So let's we restarted the application. Let's try to restart this page. Let's register once again. And as you can see, everything works as previously. And now let's get back to our Postman. Let's try my API books once again. As you can see, it's not working. It's redirected to the login. And now let me generate my token. Here is my post request for token. Here is my login ABC and password CBD. Click send, and my token is generated. And let me put my token to the Postman. Click send. As you can see, everything works fine. We can list books. It means that security passed, and we can have access to the secured endpoints of our application. That's how easy you can combine. I guess it's from previous one. That's how easy you can combine Spring MVC Security with JWT Security. you can add more methods to this REST books controller, and you can also add, for example, security context. Let me quickly show you. You will also have user details authentication principle in your get all books, because this REST API will be called just after my filter works and my user will be already in authentication. Let me show you user details, get username. Let's restart. And by the way, I need to register first, because if you enter login or password incorrect, you will receive a redirect to the login page, of course, because you need to login or register first. And let me add admin. I have predefined admin in my user service, as far as you remember. Here it is, just for the testing purposes. Let's click send, and here's our token. And we click send. As you can see, everything is perfect. And as you can see here, in the token controller, if we put breakpoint, I guess let me restart. As you can see, get token works. Let me get back the user controller. As you can see, we have user details in our endpoint, even in the REST endpoint. That's all because of this JWT filter, which we injected in our security config. And yeah, that's all I wanted to show you today. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, guys, and I see you in the next video. Goodbye.